Nestor, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, this is amazing. EXP agent. I actually reached out to you probably, I think like a year and a half ago, like going through the entire EXP directory. And I found you local because I'm hitting up all the local residential agents. And then we connected. And then I think like a year and a half later, you and I met at a meetup that you host in San Bruno. Love for the people at home to hear from you, like where you from, what you do, and you know what's your jam, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you for having me, man. Nestor Icaza. I'm here from the Bay Area, born and raised. Grew up San Bruno, Millbrae, right around here, San Mateo County. Been in the business 10 years. I'm a broker. I think probably 4 years in, I got my broker's license. Been with EXP since 2022. Been good so far, you know. Yeah, what do? I do primarily residential sales. I'm like 75% sellers, 25% buyers. A lot of my listings, I market myself here on the peninsula, my target area, North Peninsula, Daly City, like San Bruno. But my buyers, I just kind of go anywhere. Like I was just telling you off camera, like I got a buyer in Concord, in escrow. We're closing today. I got a buyer just got in contract in Rodeo.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know.
So do you have a crew that you like for open houses, for instance, or like when somebody needs to go do some initial touch points with the client, do you have folks that drive for you, or do you show up yourself?
A lot of it is me showing up myself. I do have a virtual team. So I got like 3 staff in the Philippines that help me out. They do like my marketing, my transaction coordination, my administration. They're really like the backbone of letting me go out and do what I do best. But a lot of the times it is still me, like boots on the ground, kind of hands-on with the clients. I do leverage like certain people, especially more because I'm doing a lot of rentals now too, because they're just coming my way and it's kind of quick, easy money.
Yeah. The
way the rental market is right now. So I have a guy, he's like my runner. You know, he does flyer dropping for me. He'll show a rental for me. They can't show properties for sale because they're not licensed, but they can hold open a rental and I give them a fact sheet and I'm like, don't answer any questions, just go to fact sheet.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
You didn't start as a traditional agent, so it sounds like you came from development and project management. How did that shape how you approach real estate today?
I'll tell you a little bit about what that means, the development and project management that I came from. Is really all kind of intertwined in how I got involved into real estate. Do you know Redding, California?
I do.
So for many years, I lived west of Redding, up in the Trinity County.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. And that's kind of where I fell in love with land and with real estate. So I moved up there. Like after college, I worked as a after-school program manager, like doing tutoring. I had like a staff of 3 people. And then I realized that I was like 23. I kind of wanted adventure. You know what I mean? I wasn't ready to like work at a school the rest of my life. And so I was like, I'm going to leave this. My buddy had a farm, moved up to his farm, and I fell in love with it. Little opportunities started popping up. Like we had the opportunity to buy the property next door, right? And I remember this was like some of my first experiences with real estate, right? And it was it's like unheard of, right? We're like, hey, we want to buy this property from you. The guy's like, all right, cool. Meet me at the title company this day, this time. We show up, and he just takes out a piece. He's like, oh, hey, do you have a piece of paper? Puts it on the front desk of the title company and just starts writing like this is the contract.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Old school.
Seller financing.
Yeah.
We got into escrow to buy that. Ended up not buying that. We ended up buying something else. But we got into that deal with like no money down.
Amazing.
So we got a hard money lender to do 50%, and he was on the first. And then we got the seller to do seller carry 50%. And he was willing to be in second position, but with like a 1-year term.
Okay.
Right.
Just to get you in the door.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when we bought that property, we started doing stuff just because the opportunities would come up and we wanted it so bad. We didn't know how to say no.
Yeah.
Right. And so we ended up we didn't try to do any of this. We ended up wholesaling a property too, because we liked it. We're like, oh, this is great. We want to buy it. locked it up into contract. And then one of the neighbors was like, no, I want to buy it. I don't want you guys to get this property. I want to buy it.
Yeah.
And so we ended up making like a quick 10 grand.
Nice.
And so that's what we kind of started doing. We started just like buying properties, and we're like, hey, let's buy these properties. Let's cut some of the timber down, bulldoze a pad, get it ready for a well, and then resell it. Right?
Wow.
And this was during like the green rush.
So just some initial cleanup on the lot, and then get it ready for somebody to come in and start doing something.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so these deals, you were just handing them off at like $10,000, $15,000 assignment fees, or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. That's how you got in?
That's how I started in real estate.
That's amazing, man.
And, at the time we were using an agent. I still keep in touch with her. She's, we also bought a house with her, but we were using her, and the fees on land are like 10%. That's kind of how it all started.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you typically work more with the sellers when you do transactions, right? You're mostly on the listing side of things?
Yeah.
Predominantly?
That's what I'm excited to like go after.
Yeah.
I love buyers. I love helping buyers, but I'm more excited to go after a seller.
Yeah. I mean, the whole saying of list to exist, I think is very true, especially in some of the older markets that we were in maybe, 5, 10, 15 years ago. But now with interest rates coming back down, seeing a lot of liquidity coming into the market, do you think that it's like repositioning your approach and kind of wanting to work more with buyers? Or is it still kind of, I just want to keep going with the listing folks and sellers rather?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, Mike Ferry, right?
I do.
Mike Ferry's old school mindset, right?
Yeah.
He's like, go after the sellers, the buyers will come.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the philosophy that I've adopted. I go after the sellers. That's what I'm excited to go after.
Yeah.
And also I like bringing a product to the market versus when you're helping a buyer. It's great. It's gratifying. You change their life, but you don't get that feeling of I brought a product to the market, which I really like with listings.
Yeah.
And then the buyers kind of naturally come when they see you're busy, when they see you're doing stuff.
What do you think is one of the biggest mistakes sellers make before they ever talk to an agent? So even like right before they get to talking to you, what do you think they generally fumble?
Yeah, I think they should probably reach out to agents earlier because there's so much that we can take off their plate, right? I just helped a family in Millbrae, and I mean, there's countless stories like this, right? She inherited the property full of things, right? And she was like going through it. Obviously, you have to go through, get the family heirlooms, right? And like the stuff that's important to you. But she was gonna like take months, like going through everything, figuring out what to donate, what to sell, da 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 da. And then she kept telling me like, "Oh, I'll meet with you next week. I'll meet with you next week. I have so much to do here. I have so much to do here." And I'm like, "Hey, like the faster you can hire me, I can take all that off of your plate. I can do garage sales. I can do donations. I can do. We can try to sell some of the big ticket items on Facebook Marketplace." Right? I'm like, "That's all part of my service. Like, why don't you let me come and help you? Let me, because they're older ladies."
Yeah. And are you working predominantly in the peninsula, or do you go outside, like you were saying, Redding, for instance? Do you go elsewhere in the state, or is it just Bay Area mostly?
I have sold up in Trinity County. I try to do like mostly in the Bay Area, but like I just had a old buddy of mine who's like, "I want to sell my place in Napa." And he's like, "I want to work with you. You're the only guy I want to work with." And I'm like, "All right, cool." You know what I mean? Like, I'll go out there.
I mean, you can't say no to that, it sounds like.
Yeah.
How does the peninsula influence how you serve clients today? Because it's a very different market, hyper competitive, geographically constrained, right? High price points. What's your approach?
People on the peninsula are like highly educated, right? They're highly educated. They have resources. They have options. So I just try to position myself as like, I'm going to make it easy for you. I'm going to make it easy for you. I'm going to be all over this thing. Like, you can relax. You can go back to focusing on your career, your family, your high stress life, or whatever it is you got going on.
Yeah.
And this is just going to be totally taken care of by me.
So a lot of reassurance. Communication,
Yeah.
transparency.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so important as a fiduciary to provide that level of service to clients.
Like, I'm not going to call you with a problem.
Right.
I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or I'm going to come to you with 3 solutions. I'm not going to come to you with like, oh my God, this is happening at your property.
That level of autonomy is everything, especially if you're a high level broker or agent for that matter. Like you really take that transaction into your hands and then you run it and white glove it. That's something that we love to do, is just the sponsorship, the white glove, going above and beyond. Unfortunately, man, like the bar is really low in real estate. So just to go that extra mile, that extra push, that little extra effort is going to make a huge difference and a huge impact. I would imagine so with primary homestead buyers, outside of like the first time home buyer, let's say the second or third, like they've had a few rodeos,
right?
And then they work with somebody like yourself. It's just like, oh, breath of fresh air,
Yeah,
it's really cool. That concierge kind of selling model, I really admire. Walk us through a little bit more about your process from the first listing appointment to like keys exchange. Like walk us through like the Nestor model.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it really depends on the client, right? Mm-hmm. I always meet the client where they're at. Sometimes they want to be very involved. Sometimes they want to be very involved in the construction. They want to use their contractors. I've even had families that are like, we want to do the work ourselves. And that's like, I'm a control freak too, right? So I want to be in control of the project, but that's a learning experience for me where I have to be like, okay, you guys are going to do the construction, and I'm just watching from afar, like, okay, but so that's a different type of management there. But first, I meet the client, right? Ask a lot of questions, figure out where they're at, how I can best serve them. Mm-hmm. Then we decide on a plan to move forward, right? Are we gonna remodel the place? Are we gonna just put it on the market as is? Do they need to borrow money to do stuff? Do they need me to project manage? Are they gonna do it themselves? Are they gonna use their contractors? I meet them where they're at. I try not to. It's their house. It's their money, right? I'm gonna offer my service, be willing, but it's really up to them. And then from there, we make a plan of attack. And I right away will go in there with the contractors and just start getting bids. Yeah. Right. I get bids for everything. I get bids for absolutely everything. And then I show them and it's like a menu. And I'm like, what do you want to do? Here's the full bid to get everything awesome, ready to go, where I know it's going to do amazing on the market. But what are you willing to do now?
Yeah.
Right.
That's such a level of that type of owner representation, dude. Like you're already standing out. From junk removal to renovations to tenant negotiations, you're doing all the things. Why take that level of responsibility?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to, like I said, I'm kind of a control freak. I want the outcome that I want. At the end of the day, I don't get paid unless the thing goes through.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So, like for example, with these ladies who just inherited this property that I helped, I could have let them do it on their own. It would have took me an extra 2-3 months to get paid. Yeah. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
And leave kind of like my commission and outcome in their hands when I can just come in there and I can just get it done.
And knock it out.
I can throw my resources at it, wow them.
Yeah.
Get the thing on the market faster, get paid faster.
So with these bids that you're procuring and you're talking to vendors and everything, how do you decide what upgrades are worth doing and what is a waste of money? Like, do you have a spreadsheet or like a level of improvements that you have ROI metrics laced up with?
Yeah. So I think there's like grades, right? And it depends on, there's like the surface level, kind of like just exterior paint, interior paint, floor, landscaping, lighting. Then there's like a level further where it's like, all right, we're going to switch out all the electrical plugs to make them all match. Make all those little. So my rule is like, if the buyer will interface with it, it should be new, right? Like anything like faucets, the switch plates,
trim,
so cheap to upgrade.
Yeah,
right.
Easy,
exactly.
Big impact.
Just plug and play.
I think a buyer, when they walk in, they look at those details, right? They look at the tile, they look at the trim, they look at the baseboards, they look at if there's any wainscoting, they look at all those things, and that speaks to comping. Then you're having to really work hard on comping to get into the weeds, so to speak, on what is selling and why. So outside of, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, lot size, getting into those. So you're looking at patterns to details, and then getting into those details is everything. And in a market like San Mateo County, how important do you think that pre-market preparation versus pricing comes into play?
Well, if you want the best results, you do both,
Yeah.
right? Because you can go on the market as is, and I've had clients that are just like, look, I'm not going to do anything with the property.
Yeah.
They're like, and I respect them. They're like, look, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not even going to do home inspections. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. We can do that.
How do you work with that? That's kind of challenging, isn't it?
It is. You just kind of have to trust the process.
Okay.
You have to trust that there's going to be a buyer that's like also kind of on that level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're speccing out a specific buyer based off of seller criteria and what they're willing to do at list.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
That makes sense. So when they don't want to do the kitchen cabinets and they don't want to do the kitchen, it's outdated. Well, then you're looking at a buyer that's looking to do some improvements and get a better purchase price.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
cool.
Or that's willing to, and I told him, I was like, look, you don't do the home inspections, you're going to narrow down the pool of people, because a lot of people want to have the inspections already.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're okay with that.
So on the peninsula, you can buy a 3-1 in Redwood City that's a cardboard box for $1.5 million.
Yeah. With terrible schools
with
too.
terrible schools, the location too. Have you seen situations where proper preparation added like 6 figures in value on those types of properties?
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
When you manage those deals, are you involved with kind of the decision-making around the remodeling, or are you just procuring ideas, procuring estimates, kind of like assembling a team, or do you get kind of more involved with the layout and the kind of the design aspects of it?
Yeah. So I don't try to move walls. My thing is I try not to do bathrooms and kitchen remodels. I'll do like lipstick, like gussy them up a little bit. Like I'll paint cabinets.
Low hanging fruit on the ground.
Yeah. Paint the cabinets, change the flooring, handles, light fixtures. I have done countertops a couple times, but it's not like my go-to, because that starts to get really, you start to really waste a lot of money when you start to do that.
Yeah.
But I have done it and it has always worked out. But the thing is also, I think most sellers just don't have an appetite for that extent of renovation when they go to sell. Some of them do.
Yeah.
Some of them do, but most of the people I work with, they just want like kind of a low effort things. Yeah.
Interesting. So,
but I am involved. I present like a formula to them.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, here's the formula to get the house sold. Like, you just approve like what you're willing to do, and then I'll make sure that like it executes well and that it looks really good and polished.
Yeah. For the folks on the peninsula, and we're talking like San Mateo County, Santa Clara County specifically, there is a level of sophistication, like you said, a level of education. However, timing for the listing side, you're representing a seller. Or do you see that this pool of sellers within our respective counties are more motivated to sell fast, or more motivated to do kind of that improvement work to get it positioned properly so that they can get a higher dollar? Or is it kind of a mix mash of the two?
There's a certain personality that's like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I think that most people are willing to invest into the property. Most people around here, they see the value of their property, and they know that if they put $1 in, they can probably get $1.50 out.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's worth it,
Yeah.
When else are you where else can you spend 25 or 50 and get 75 back out?
100%. I think it's builder.com. You can go on to builder.com and you can look at all of the home improvement projects and their respective ROIs.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. So one that you wouldn't ever believe is extremely high ROI, if you're a consumer, right? If you're a buyer, is garage doors. Believe it or not. I think you can get like nearly 40% return on your investment by just putting in a garage door. And it's like $1,500.
Yeah.
$1,800 for a garage door. Kitchens and bathrooms, of course, have good ROI, but landscape, like having a good, mature, healthy landscape is enormous. Driveways too, believe it or not. Driveways, like if you had like a beautiful home, like picture perfect and it's ready to go, and it's got a completely destroyed driveway, you can spend maybe $5,000 or $6,000 to just put in a new paver driveway, and then it's just like will give you 12 or 15 grand back.
Yeah.
Which is something that I'm always looking at, that kind of like low hanging fruit or fruit on the ground when doing these ROI metrics. Have you seen situations outside of the 6-figure increase where, like, if we're talking about transactional listing agents, from someone running a project, managing listing like what you're doing, where do you find separation? You're clearly aware of your market. You're probably clearly aware of your competitors as well. I'm sure you go through some sort of like comparative analysis or competitive analysis to see what other people are doing. Because if I mean, we're entrepreneurs, right? So we're always trying to get an edge in the marketplace. What are some things that you've noticed in your business flow that is giving you that separation from the others?
I think my contractors are cheaper.
That's amazing. Yeah. And if they can do the same amount of work, like the quality wise, oh, that's everything.
That's what I think. I think my guys are cheaper. I think they're faster. Like, you know, the guys I work with, I have the guys who I use for my big projects, and then I have the guys who I use for my little stuff.
Okay.
Right. And so, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My go-to guy, he'll throw, 5-6 dudes at the work site right away.
Amazing.
And just get it done.
Wow.
So, and he's a good value because I keep him busy, right? I'm constantly doing projects with him.
Do you work with investors at all, or is it mostly retail buyers?
I haven't really gotten around to working, like really building a relationship with an investor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's such a tough market for that. Like we're finding, because we help investors with our construction company, and we white glove and sponsor the construction process. We even give investors 0% interest loans, up to 12 months with no prepayment penalty. And those loans, depending on underwriting, can get up to like $250,000 for rehab, which is amazing. But it's a shallow pool with a tremendous amount of sharks who are swimming around, ready to, like, they smell anytime there's blood in the water, dude.
Yeah.
It's insane. So we've seen wholesalers in the Bay Area who are picking up discounted properties at like ARV. And we're like, how are you? Well, who's buying these deals, first of all? Right. Because at 85, 90% ARV, there's like no meat on the bone.
Right.
Our direct to agent, because we would go direct to a broker, we'd go direct to an agent to build a pipeline of lead flow. All that stuff that they're bringing to the table is complete garbage. It's all hogwash. Like every investor that I talk to, we're just been pounding the rock, dude, pounding the rock. Like, here's this deal. And everybody's like, no, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, well, let's pivot. Let's go direct to seller. Whether you're working with a retail buyer or you're working with a listing agent, or I'm sorry, with the property owner, building owner, mechanics are still somewhat the same. For the listing side, Nestor, like how are you scoring these deals? Like, are you picking up the phone? Are you prospecting? Are you getting them from your orbit? Like, how are you getting your listings?
Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of things. I mean, online presence is huge. Online presence is huge. People do go online and search for agents. Agents go online and search for agents. And so I get referrals from agents from out of the area. Referrals from my past clients. I have enough past clients at this point that and that I've served well. Yeah. Right. That they're like, oh yeah, you have to use Nestor. I have in the past called expireds and gotten listings that way. Yeah. I'd be lying to you if I said that's something I do right now today. Yeah. But it's one of those things I do like sporadically, and I'm like, all right, let me fill the pipeline. Let me call some expireds. Let me get, get more tactical. Yeah. Another thing that I do that I guess is a little different is I drop flyers, right? So I drop flyers at people's doorsteps, around my listings, around sales. And
so that's your strategic. You're not just peppering a neighborhood. Like you're going to neighborhoods that have had some recent transactions occur.
Well, usually my transactions, and like I'll sell something in a neighborhood and then I'll flyer that neighborhood and be like, hey, I just sold this. Here's how I did it.
I've got one of my really good buddies, business partner. He's also with EXP, Brian Young in LA. He'll get a listing and then he'll just door knock the whole neighborhood. and just say, hey, we got some happening, and then has a conversation.
And I've done that too. I've door knocked and built some good relationships that way too.
Mm-hmm.
What I have found, and there's different philosophies, right? Some people love the door knocking. What I have found is that dropping a flyer, I think it's just as effective. And there's people that'll probably argue against me, but this is what I've seen to be true.
Well, if it works for you, man,
like there's this little townhouse community in Hayward that I got one listing in, and that was a referral.
Mm-hmm.
It was a referral from a client that I was currently helping sell their home. They referred me to these other folks, got the listing there, sold the listing, flyered the neighborhood. Then somebody else they were an expired listing, but they got my flyer. And they were like, oh, hey, like our agent couldn't sell it, but we saw that you just sold this. Can you sell ours? Sold theirs, flyered the neighborhood. Another lady calls me and she's like, oh, hey,
wow,
like you sold a couple of, she didn't end up going with me.
Yeah.
But, it just goes to show you the power of just that little action.
What a difference, man. In commercial, it's so different because you can't just walk into a building and be like, hey,
and find the owner.
And find the owner. Like they're in these entities and the owner's probably across the country or in a different country. So we have to pick up the phone and we have to actually call.
Yeah.
Something that we're rolling out because that is time consuming, of course.
Right.
I spend 2 hours a day prospecting, pulling lists, pounding the rock. Maybe 80% of those calls go to a voicemail or an executive assistant.
Right.
And then we have to follow up with an email. And then we have to follow up with a call. So it's really difficult to get on the phone with acquisitions manager or somebody who's going to, especially at like the institutional level, that's going to be like, yeah, we're offloading properties. Like shoot us an offer. Really, really difficult. So we're beginning to roll out more automations in the prospecting game where we're utilizing AI and agentic AI to automate those initial first touch points, because then now we can do it 24/7 and we don't have to write up an email like analog manual style. We're able to text using blue bubbles because there's apps now that will, because the industry is predominantly iPhone based or iOS based. Are you rolling in any of this new like automations or AI or agentic AI software? Because it's like social media isn't really social media anymore. It's actually interest media. So it's like all over my feed. Like I'm looking into it. So obviously it's everywhere on my phone. But how about you? Are you looking into this stuff at all?
Yeah. So the way I use AI is more of like on the administrative, more on the back end side, digital staging, summarizing disclosures. What else? I mean, we do a lot of, what I just did with agentic AI you mentioned. I made a website.
Yeah.
I made an entire website. Basically, I went and I got this guy who has one of the best property management websites. He's like, oh, we get thousands of organic leads in Atlanta. Go to his website. Are you familiar with Manus?
I am.
Okay. I go to Manus. I go, hey, rip this entire website, please. Put my name on it, my market, and it just 10 minutes.
Spit it out.
Had an amazing website.
Dude, so top 4 or 5 tools that I use is Notebook LM, which is in the Google Workspace. It can compile and summarize and outline really dense, comprehensive documents. Like you have a 30-page contract. It'll go through the contract. It'll give you the summaries. It'll give you a podcast.
Wow.
An audio podcast of whatever it is that you upload on it to give you an audio perspective, slide decks, infographics, reports, like all of it, dude. It's such a sleeper tool.
Yeah.
And we're a Google Workspace company, so it's free or it comes wrapped in. Another one is Manus, like you said. Manus for helping script out content. Putting together illustrations and specific media type assets, so we can upload a video and then we can prompt it and say, look, we're trying to put together a very specific illustration or slide deck or some sort of like visual map of this video, and then give me captions for a very specific social media channel, and then it'll just spit it out. Claude is also really good at narratives, and with Claude Cowork, which is this new agentic AI feature within Claude that will actually take over your computer. The only thing is with Claude Cowork is you're unable to kind of program it in a way where it does work while you're not using it. There's different apps and programs and code-based software that you can actually program and have the agentic AI like do whatever workflow you want. Like Claude is just like you're at the desk. It's got a web scraper. It can go like into the MLS for you. It can pull out a list of all the expireds.
Yeah.
You know, you can be really specific and like get down to the minuscule data metric. Really, really amazing. Claude Cowork. Of course, Gemini, ChatGPT. Those are all really great large language models that, you know, we kind of wrap into this bigger tech stack. EXP on the commercial side gives us like a lot of really great software. Canva, CoStar, Build Out, RealNext, just like tons.
Do they give you guys Fixer AI?
I don't think we have Fixer AI.
So on the residential side, if you cap, they give it to you for free.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Fixer AI is
it is a email summary tool.
Amazing.
So it goes into your email. It creates different inboxes, like you need to respond to this. You don't need to respond to this. It prioritizes them, and then it will take your email, draft an auto response, and then save it. So then you can just like review it and hit send.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Part of this agentic AI that we're rolling out, because I used a program called Lindy.ai, which is at the beginning stages of something that I want to very much incorporate into my business, but it's like having a chief of staff that you can prompt using a voice memo, and you do it all through iOS. So whatever it is, man, like I need you to give me, you know, a brief on my day. Tell me what I have going on in my calendar, respond to all my emails, schedule an appointment. I got my kids going to soccer practice. Like I need to get them lunch, order them lunch. Like,
wow.
And it's all for, and like having a personal assistant, and it's going to get to that point because robotic AI is going to be here, and we're going to have, you know, some robot that's behind the cameras.
Oh, I can't wait, man.
Dude.
I can't wait.
Crazy.
The future's bright.
So crazy. It's going to change, I think, the entire landscape of the real estate industry, specifically around a lot of those minuscule data-centric tasks. But then I'd love to get your opinion on this, like in terms of like the negotiation, the emotional, you know, some of these other aspects that are so human-centric. I don't think that will be replaced. Do you?
No, I don't think so. You know, I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. I was like, managing emotions is really one of the biggest things that we do. You know, whether it be with, like on the property management side, it's with tenants, right? Like the other day I had somebody who reached out to me and was like, hey, I have this, there's like a pest in my house, you know? And I was like, oh, what is it? They're like, we don't know what it is. And they like took photos of it and sent it to me and And it was like this huge fire drill, you know what I mean? Because it ended up being like some dirt that she tracked in to the house.
Wow.
Right. But it was just like, oh, that's a great example of just like, you just need to hear this person. The person just needs to be heard. They need to be acknowledged. They need they need to know that somebody's gonna come with a solution for them. And then it's like, oh, you know, actually this isn't a bug. This is like some dirt that I tracked in here. She's like, I'm so sorry. Like, but like, she just needed to be heard, you know?
Yeah.
So, but that's one example, but I mean, especially in negotiations,
dude, right?
Like, yeah.
We had Michael Apps, who's with Keller Williams here in the Burlingame office a few weeks ago. And he said like the superpower that all the high level agents all have is a remarkable ability to listen to their clients, to not say anything and just sit there and listen and like really, really listen.
And also detach from the outcome.
Yeah.
That's like one of those things where I used to hear that and I used to be like, how could you possibly do that?
Well, that builds trust.
Yeah.
You know, I think when you pull away, that builds trust. And in high stakes negotiations, like that's everything, you know? What's your overall mindset in these, like you're trying to cover, I don't know, an $800,000 gap or something, and you're working with a buyer and seller's, you know, rigid? Like, what's your mindset as you're going into these discussions?
Goes back to like my core philosophy is that it's their house, it's their money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I can't want it more than them.
Mm.
Right. So it's one of those things where I present it, I give my reasoning, I give my take, but I can't make them sign.
Yeah.
You know, all I can do is show them where the market's at. I can show them what's going on. I can show them what the buyer can buy instead of their property.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, I mean, just recently I was with an off-market seller and we got an offer. I think it was like 300 or 250 under what her expectation was. And, you know, I told her, I was like, look,
and you're on the listing side?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I said, look, at the price that you want, if they were to come up to that price, they could buy in 3 other towns.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So the reason that they're not able to go up to this price is because, look, they could go to better cities at that price.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to understand that, right? And I'm not trying to like negotiate against my seller, but I'm trying to show her like, hey, this is why they're not going to this price. That's why only one property in this whole town has gone to this price, and that was like a ground up rebuild. Right? Your house is not a ground up rebuild.
Yeah.
Right. So
multiple offer scenarios. What matters more to you? Price, the structure, or like the reputation of the agent?
I think to the agent, reputation matters. To the seller, they don't really care, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want their price.
Sure.
So I think it's more about being able to get the agent that has that good reputation to come with the better price.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it's like, hey man, like, you know, I really want to work with you, but I got this other offer and it's higher. Like, what's up? Can you make it happen?
Yeah.
So that you can get to work with the good agent, but you get the good price for your seller.
Yeah.
Because the seller doesn't care.
Let's talk about 1031s. And I was doing a little bit of homework on you, and it looks like you've done 1031 exchanges, correct?
Yeah.
What do most investors do you think, or buyers and sellers mostly misunderstand about 1031 exchanges? And maybe you can, for the viewers, if they don't know what a 1031 exchange, kind of break down and define what a 1031 is.
Yeah. So 1031 is basically the tax law that lets you defer paying capital gains tax on an asset, real estate. If you transfer into a similar asset, it has to be a higher price.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think where people don't understand so much is that it's so flexible, right? 1031 is so flexible because you do reverse 1031. I think you can even do like a post 1031. Like there's so many different ways you can do it. And then you also don't have to buy one property.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy multiple properties. I think honestly, the limit with 1031 is that it's honestly people's imagination because most people just aren't thinking of like, I want to roll this apartment into like 3 properties in like 3 different vacation areas or like something. They're just not thinking like that.
Yeah. 1031s are so prevalent in commercial. Something that I learned that you can do on a 1031, which is what I'm doing with this house that we're in right now, is seller finance and a 1031.
Interesting.
So for this transaction, really interesting transaction, home was owned by a primary residence, homesteader, raised his kids in the house for 25 years, bought the house for like $900,000. Now it's like 2.6, somewhere in that zone. We fell in love with the property. So we're like, we want to buy the property, but we don't want to shell out $2.6 million or go to get a jumbo loan and pay $18,000 a month.
All right.
So I pitched a lease option. He agreed. So we went into a 5-year lease option. That lease option shows the IRS now that it's an investment property.
Right.
If he were to sell it when we were interested in selling it, he could do the 121 exclusion, which will allow him, because he's married, to remove $500,000 worth of capital gains tax in the transaction. But there was way more equity in the deal. So he would have to pay capital gains tax on the spread, which was still quite a bit. So we did a lease option where the seller now shows the house is an investment property. And then in our year 5 execution, we go into a seller finance transaction. Well, he carries the paper, takes that paper to to the QI, and then the QI holds the paper as collateral for the replacement property. Now, there's two ways to exit on the seller finance for a 1031. One is the replacement property owner has to take the paper in exchange for the transaction or for the property, or the seller finance the bank, so the owner of the house on the first leg has to buy out his own note in order for the funds to clear in the QI to pay for the replacement property.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't know that you can exchange a property with paper. And that was not a thing that I knew of like 6 years ago or something.
Yeah.
So anytime there's, somebody that's willing to carry paper and there's a lot of equity and they want to defer all the capital gains, dude, now this guy is going to take all of this deferral and then run it into an RV park, make 20 grand a month on the RV park, and then make, whatever, 8 grand here on the house. So now he's compounded his returns. And the only caveat there for this to work is if the seller is able to buy their own note out. So have the cash to just buy it out, or the replacement property owner takes the paper as the collateral. So rather than them taking cash, they take, this paper that he's holding at QI.
The note on another property, they would still have to take the note on a different property.
Correct.
Interesting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know you can do that.
Yeah.
And we were working with a QI company, can't remember their name right now, in Colorado that does this all day long, nationwide. And I was like, holy shit. Once I learned how to do that, then it was like, oh my God, now I can go to the negotiation table and have like a arrow in the quiver to pull out in case it gets to that conversation. And then we're all like, oh wow, we can do this. Accountants signed off on it. Legal signed off on it. QI was like, you can totally do this. So really cool. I just wanted to mention that.
Again, that's kind of contingent on the guy having the vision though, right? That guy, obviously you explaining the game plan to him thoroughly enough, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, being able to pitch that,
100%.
But then him having the vision to be like, oh yeah, I know what to do with that.
One thing that really helped is he's a commercial broker and has like 100-year-old family business that is very, very sophisticated. So they're very open to, and they do complex transactions on a daily basis. So this was just like, how do we stitch this together? Which is so cool.
Yeah. And like my world, what I've seen people do is they rent their property. If they live in their property and then rent it out for 2 years, or rent it out, then move in, they can take advantage of both the marriage exemption and then 1031 whatever's left.
Yes.
So I've seen people do that.
Yes.
But I guess that's not something everyone does, but it's not as complex as that.
It's and not common, but if you're knowledgeable as an agent or a broker and you're able to kind of stitch these transactions together and have that kind of knowledge and skill set, like you can get deals across the finish line that otherwise would have just died. Yeah. Which, this is why I love this business so much, man. It's like, there's just so many different ways you can kind of craft something up. For you, before we start getting into some of the closing questions that I have, because this has been awesome, man. Appreciate you being here.
We need to do this in reverse, man. I have so many questions for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's do that. So we talked about how you uncover off-market deals, which I think is everything for a new agent. Like, how do you get deals, especially on the listing side? We talked about how you advise clients. Everybody's got a pretty good grip on your approach. Let's talk a little bit about the market, current market, because things are changing and it's pretty dynamic. Interest rates are starting to scoot down a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your approach as you're going into 2026? Whether you're on the listing or the buying side, as these market forces begin to change? It's so dynamic in our market right now.
I try not to focus so much on what the market's doing, to be honest.
Okay.
Because either way, market's up, market's down, I gotta sell.
Eat.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And if I'm not selling, I'm not eating. So, but I think right now buyers are definitely like making a comeback. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like right now I've got these 2 buyers in escrow, and like I said, I primarily go for sellers. So buyers are just kind of coming out of nowhere. So that tells me that people are coming into the market, right? They're entering, They're getting pre-approved. They want to buy houses. I think a lot of people there's kind of like stocks, right? They're like buying the news. They know that, okay, new Fed chair is coming in June-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Rates will probably go down because, president has a way of getting what he wants. And so rates are probably going to come down.
Yeah.
If that's going to happen, market will probably improve, which in this area means it'll go even more crazy. And so if I buy now, I'll get a little bit of a higher rate, but I can avoid the crazy and maybe I can get the house that I want. Versus if I wait, get the lower rate, but I'm going to be fighting because everyone and their mom's going to enter the market.
Yeah.
Right. So I think buyers see that coming, and I think that they're trying to get ahead of it. So that's already causing like an early spring market.
Yeah. What's the one strategic move that you would recommend most to homeowners that aren't thinking about what they really ought to be thinking about?
I mean, just run the numbers. I think people are just so reluctant to just pre-approval is free.
Yeah.
Right. Just get pre-approved. I tell people, look, this is an information finding process. We're not even at the decision making process yet. Let's get you the information you need. What's your monthly payment? What's your down payment? What cities can you afford? Let's go see some of that inventory. And then you decide, am I really a buyer in this market?
Yeah.
But until you've ran the numbers, seen the product, test driven it, right? Like it's like buying a car. You don't, until you've gotten all the things, you don't know.
Yeah.
You got to go test drive the car. So it's like, you got to see the house, do all that. And then there you can stop. You know what I mean? You can stop right there. And plenty of people do, right?
Yeah.
They go through the motions and then they're like, we're not ready, XYZ, whatever. They get gun shy. And that at that point, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because you've had the information to say no.
What does trust mean to you in this business, Nestor?
Trust means doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah. Do you find a lot of, and this is, I mean, the commercial is the Wild West. I think we had talked about this initially. Maybe it was at our first meetup that we met at, that on the commercial side, though rather the residential side disclosures, it's like you have to tick 70 something boxes.
Yeah.
In commercial, it's like 4.
Wow.
So like there's a lot of responsibility in the due diligence of the buyer when they're purchasing commercial real estate. Trust is everything in that regard. We see a lot of brokers that, aren't trustworthy in commercial. It's like the Wild West. Like, do you come across knuckleheads in the residential space as well?
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely out there. I think that in the Peninsula is kind of a small place and like reputation matters and it kind of follows you around. So I don't think we see like so many bad actors. There's definitely some, but I think it's more in other markets, like further out in the Bay, you start to see that. But no, I mean, we definitely see it. It's not shady, but it's just not like upfront, right? It's like when you see, the other day I went and showed a house and they were like, oh, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,800 square feet. But then on the county records, it's like a 2-2, 1,200 square feet. And I got to like explain this whole thing to my clients. Like, look, they're basically saying buyer verify. If you care, whether it's 1,800 or 1,200, it's up to you to figure out where that discrepancy is.
Wow.
Right. And I tell them like, look, it says 1,800, 3-bedroom, but when we make an offer, we have to look at comps that are like above and below that because we can't, it's not a 3-2. It's not 1,800 square feet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, somebody may emotionally make an offer that is equivalent to that.
Yeah.
Right. So then it's that balance between like what is real and then what is like, where's the market at?
Yeah. That's huge.
And that house was hot.
Yeah.
Like I was showing it privately. And while I was doing a private showing, probably like 4 people came. Like there was a line of 4 people and we ended up.
Offer.
Yeah.
I've got one more question, which is kind of a higher level question that goes a little bit beyond real estate. How do you think about real estate beyond the transaction? Like there's the mechanics, there's the day to day, but like I think a lot of us in real estate, we think about legacy, we think about long-term growth, we think about wealth and value. What's real estate mean to you beyond, the day to day?
I heard somebody else say this recently, but I'm going to adopt it as my answer.
Yeah.
They said sales, but real estate is sales. So they said sales is the biggest personal growth project that anybody can take on. You know?
That's great, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's just, it rang so true to me.
Yeah.
You know, because you change real estate, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just it's not a job and it's not a business.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lifestyle because it's going to grow you in every way, because you're just if you want to have more, you got to become more. So you're going to push to expand in all areas of life.
That's one thing I really admired about you when I first met face to face is you at this meetup. And I was not expecting this at all. I thought it was just going to be a group of folks just kind of chatting. You showed up with paperwork for everybody to fill out. Like you were holding folks accountable out of the gate. You're like, yo, this is how you build a business. This is how you think through problems. And this is how you solve those problems. This is how you build clarity. And immediately I was like, dude, like we're going to be friends.
Yeah, for sure. No. And you know, and the thing is like, let's take this hour to like focus on this. The rest of the day, the rest of the week, you're going to go chase whatever squirrel comes along. But right now we're going to focus on this. You know what I mean? Like,
man, it's so great. So we're wrapping up at the end of the show. At the end of every show, we do like a rapid fire round with guests. What advice would you give someone stuck waiting for the right time?
It depends on the context of what they're waiting for, but I would say just massive action. Massive action.
Yeah. Massive imperfect action. Cause I think some people will just be like fumbling, be like, oh, I need to be perfect.
Yeah. There's never a right time.
Yeah. There's never a right time.
Yeah.
Love it. What should sellers stop doing immediately right now?
I really think that they should interview more than one agent. I think too many people go with the first agent. They don't even know what they're saying no to.
Wow.
You know?
That's actually a really good point.
Why take good when you can have great?
Yeah.
You know?
It's like that car analogy that you were saying earlier. Like you're unless you know I want a 911 GT3 Porsche, then it's like you gotta like, you know, I want something comfortable. Cool. So then go drive like a few different cars that speak to comfort. That's amazing. That tells me that you're like totally on the seller side. Because you know, if you're just doing listings, like you want to score that listing. But like, yeah, that makes sense. Go talk to other people. What should buyers start doing immediately?
Talk to a professional, get pre-approved, because you can go online and do the little tool and all that, but that's not running your credit report. That's not seeing what's going on behind the scenes.
If someone wants to build real long-term wealth in the peninsula, specifically our market, what's the first principle they need to understand?
Honestly, I think you have to focus on increasing your income.
Yeah.
Because if you want to buy in the peninsula, you have to
increase that bread.
You have to increase your own value.
Yeah. Which is tough to tell like a first-time home buyer, you know, that might have the shiny object syndrome. Like, I want that 4.3 or that 5.3. And it's really like, dude, you can afford like a 3.2 right now.
You know, and the other thing that I tell people is you have to really take a hard look at yourself. I tell buyers, you have to be so honest with yourself. You know, what do you have more of? Do you have more time or money? Because if you have more time, you can cross a bridge and live an okay life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, dude. All right, last one, brother. What does winning in real estate actually mean to you?
I think winning in real estate means that you get to do the things that you want with the people that you want, when you want. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's winning in real estate to me.
Nestor, thanks for being on the show, brother. I'd love for people to learn about how they can get a hold of you. Maybe you can rattle off like your socials, your website. That way, you know, folks who watch the show, they can call you.
Yeah, it's Nestor_Icaza. That's my Instagram handle. And I mean, if you just Google Nestor Icaza, I'm the only one. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Nestor, man, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man.
All right.